class. This is Teacher Fran here. This is probably take 6 on this video. I definitely have a little bit of an easier time writing than speaking, but that's okay. Working on my communication skills. Yeah, so just wanted to welcome you to English 101. I've enjoyed meeting all of you through your comments and your written assignments, so thanks so much for being part of this class. Periodically I'm going to post a video as an announcement because I find things, common questions that people have, or common maybe mistakes or pitfalls that maybe come up. So I thought I would make some videos to make sure that I communicate with you about what those different important aspects of the class are. So I'm going to time to time be looking at my notes, so pardon me for turning to the side. But first thing I wanted to make sure was that everybody found the timeline of assignments. A couple of you I saw in the chat room were having trouble locating it. It actually was my fault. It actually was not posted for the first couple days of class. I forgot to put the attachment in the syllabus because it changes each quarter. And so my apologies if you were tearing your hair out trying to find it. A student alerted me and I got it up within a couple days. So if you didn't find the timeline of assignments in the syllabus, it was there. It's there now, and it's been there for a little while. So go to the syllabus, and it's in the, I think it's the section is called Timeline of Assignments, and it's an attachment that you'll have to open and print off. So I highly suggest you print that off and just check it off as you go along. It really helps me keep organized of what I need to grade, so I think for students it would be good as well. Etudes also has the assignment tests and surveys feature, which has all the assignments listed, and if you are careful about reading the directions for each, it can direct you to what discussion threads you have to do, but I don't think it's as good as the timeline for assignments. And then there's also the course map, which is a relatively newer feature of Etudes. They haven't had it for that long. And that also details what you have to do. So anyway, if you're worried about keeping track of everything, print out that timeline, check things off as you go along. Next thing that I wanted to make sure, one of the biggest questions people have is about the discussion requirement. And I sort of look at it in two ways. So each week the expectation is that you're going to answer some of my questions and that you're going to respond to your students, fellow students, because that's what we want to do in a discussion. I'll get some discussion started, hopefully, and then we want to keep it going by you responding to fellow students. So for each story that you read, you have to answer one of my questions. I always list 3, but you don't have to respond to all 3. I'd actually prefer that you respond to one with in-depth than to respond to 3 on the surface. So for each story you read, there'll be a discussion thread. Go to that, read my questions, which are always at the top, and respond to one of my questions with a paragraph. Once you've done that for the week, you're required for full credit to respond to 4 students' posts each week, not for each story, but for the week. And that requirement actually lessens once we move out of the short stories. Once we move into Heart of Darkness, you're not required to do 4 anymore. I think it goes down to 2 each week. So anyway, just keep in mind that you want to respond to one question for each story that I've posted, and then each week for the first 6 weeks, I think it is, you respond to 4 fellow students' posts. So I'm looking to see that you've done both. There's points, it's something roughly like 10 points for each story for my questions that you respond to, and then it's something like 25-ish points to respond to fellow students' questions. So for each week. So just keep that in mind that there's 2 separate requirements there. Hopefully I explained that well. I have a difficult time sometimes being clear with that, so just if that didn't make sense to you, then send me a message and I'll try and explain it a different way. I have 2 other points I want to touch upon. One of the biggest things that I find important in our class in English 101 is making sure that everybody understands logical essay structure. So I'm pretty rigid, especially in the beginning of the term, about my expectations for the written assignments of what you include in those. So, for instance, there's some upcoming assignments, an assertion paragraph, which is going to be the same as what you'll write for body paragraphs of an essay. There's a structure that I want you to follow for the first few essays, the first 2 out of the 3 essays that I expect you to follow. And only if I tell you personally that you can deviate from that structure will you be allowed to, because I want to make sure that everybody includes what you need to, what's logical to include in an assertion or a body paragraph. Same with the introduction that you're going to have to write for essay 1. You submit that before you actually submit the entire essay. You just submit the introduction. There's a logical information that you should have in an introduction, and so the module on introductions explains what that is and gives an example and takes you through. So that's what I'm going to want you to have in your introduction. So really read those modules to see what the expectations are for each assignment, and 2, what the structure is that I prescribe for you. There's 3 essays you have to write for this class. The first one has very specific instructions for each paragraph. The second one has less specific instructions, and the third one has even less specific instructions. So just keep that in mind, that there's definitely specific instructions, and that's because if you don't have clear structure, your ideas are not going to shine through. You could have the best ideas in the world, but if there's no clear structure, people won't understand. The last thing I want to do is to urge you to read the feedback that I give you. It'll always be an attachment to a private message. I insert comments. I have a rubric, and then I have comments at the end. And I point out grammatical and mechanical mistakes, but then I also tell you things you've done well and tell you things that you can improve on. So, so make sure you read. That's probably the best way to improve in this class, is to be reading that feedback. So, so I look forward to working with all of you. If you've gotten to the end of this message, then send me a private message letting me know, and I'll give you 10 points extra credit. Look forward to working with you. Feel free to send me a message anytime with any questions or concerns.